Hello and welcome to the MRO show presented by Chadwell Supply. I'm your host, Adam Porter. Chadwell Supply is 100% dedicated to the multifamily industry. Your order is on our truck delivered the next day. Learn more at chadwellsupply.com. Sean, welcome back to the MRO show.
Thank you, Adam. Thanks for having me. It's great to be on.
I'm glad to have you back because on this episode of the MRO show, we're going to be talking about the changing role of technology in multifamily. And there's a lot of opinions out there about it. There's an open debate, an ongoing debate on how we should be using the technological tools that we have available. And that's something you and your team at AppWork know a lot about. You guys are out there and you prepared a program, developed a program as property managers for property managers and maintenance professionals to help them be more efficient and more effective, and to make it easier and more efficient for property managers to track and manage maintenance. Is that a fair estimation of what you guys are doing?
It's spot on.
And so, Sean, what was the impetus behind developing this tool?
I mean, like you said, we're operators by trade. I consider myself an operator by trade. And I think it was just fundamentally, as an operator, what we saw firsthand was the impact that maintenance had on our operations. And where maintenance was going well, you'd see the operational success of an asset and the performance of an asset would follow. And the other way around. And when an asset wasn't performing, very often you'd look at the maintenance operations at that property and you'd very clearly see why the asset wasn't performing.
As somebody who has that experience and that background, but also somebody who is into technology, you're an innovator in the technological field, particularly in multifamily. You probably have a perspective on the changing role of technology in multifamily. Share a little bit about kind of how, just kind of a bird's eye view of how you see technology changing in multifamily.
Yeah, I think it's an excellent topic to discuss. I think it's not rocket science, and I think everybody pretty much understands that our industry, for whatever reason, is one of the slower industries to adapt and to innovate. So innovate and then to adapt and implement new technology. Probably because one leads to the other. Meaning companies are slow to adapt new technologies, which may be what's stifling some of the innovation. But over the last 5 years, I think we've seen some pretty explosive growth and pretty incredible innovation on the technology side. So it's definitely exciting to see the industry starting to be a lot more receptive to change and to new technologies.
Just what are a couple ways or a couple things that you've seen where technology has come in and people have adopted that and they've seen a difference?
Well, I think the most obvious one, the biggest buzzword of the world today is AI, and just seeing how that's impacting, positively impacting so many different organizations and how it could have such an incredible impact on all aspects of our entire industry, from whether it's leasing, maintenance, accounting and finance. I mean, AI can have a very, very, very broad impact.
It's another tool in our toolbox.
There you go.
It's just like any other tool. We need to use it responsibly.
Yes.
But it is an opportunity for those people who are willing to adapt to that as a tool and implement it in a way that can make a big difference for them.
100%. It's actually our approach, our personal approach as a company to AI has been one of that's a very cautious approach. We've been building some AI tools for a while. But when it comes to generative AI, especially we're a maintenance product, we have to be very careful with what generative AI tells people, especially when you're dealing with resident-facing AI and do X, Y, Z to fix that. Mm-hmm. We had a lot of concerns where we actually built a full-blown tool, and we decided not to bring it to market yet, just because of what the potential liability of something like that can happen. Nobody wants a resident being told, hey, go plug on, pull out, touch that wire, or mess with that. So you got to, like you said, you have to do it responsibly, very cautiously. And maintenance is definitely one of the areas that you have to be more cautious when playing with AI.
So absolutely, with AI and with really any technology, you want to still have that human element in there.
Absolutely.
Both as a stopgap, but also as somebody who can maybe differentiate between what's outstanding advice or a good way to help or a good method from AI, or maybe a little bit of that hallucination we hear about sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So talk to me we've talked a little bit now about some of the cautionary things we need to think about. And we talked about the opportunities with AI and with other technologies, but share a way that you've seen from the property management side and as a technology developer, a way that team has implemented technology that's made a big difference in practical terms for management and maintenance?
Yeah, excellent. And I think it's a great segue to what we were just saying about how people have to be cautious about AI. And, you want to make sure that there's still a human element there. And the AI shouldn't be to replace the human element. It should be to, maybe support the human element and help them be more productive. And that's one of the biggest focuses for us at AppWork from a technological perspective is how do we make our maintenance teams more productive? And how do we give them the tools in their toolbox, the digital tools in their toolbox to be more engaged, more productive. And we do a lot of fun things from gamification, getting them, from that perspective, giving them, we focus a lot on usability, creating technology that's incredibly simple to use, which honestly, that in itself is probably it's an incredible feature. People, often don't realize the importance of, just having something that people will actually use, something that's simple. There are companies out there that are paying millions of dollars a year for these, incredible platforms, softwares. And then they look at the adoption, no one's really using it because it's difficult. So, sometimes, you really just got to go back to the basics.
Like every maintenance guy can tell you their favorite tool and then the one they're never going to use.
Exactly.
It just sits in the bottom of the toolbox and
Exactly.
maybe it'll rust, maybe it won't. Let's talk a little bit about then the opportunities with the technology you have been developing. You talked about tech that is implementing AI that you guys still kind of have in the development phase, but AppWork as a whole is not in the development phase. You guys have rolled that out. Property management, maintenance teams are using this tool. Talk to me a little bit about how they're using AppWork and how it's making a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. People are using AppWork to manage their maintenance operations, all aspects of it, from work orders, unit turns, make readies, inspections, preventative maintenance, technician management, performance management. Obviously, we have clients that we're talking to now. You'd be surprised how as far advanced as the industry is, people are still using pen and paper to manage their work orders. So just digitizing those tools, giving them the ability to, one case that we do use AI is to automatically assign the work orders to the best technicians based on their availability, their skill level, geographic location of the units, which makes a massive impact on just, shaving time off their day, allowing them to complete that many more work orders in a day. On the make ready side, the ability to, automatically, manage and track your entire make ready process, start to finish. And more importantly, the data behind that. I think today a lot of companies are lacking as an operator. And before we launched this, our entire make ready process was on a marker board that we would accidentally lean against and delete. Right. And we had no data on how we're performing from that perspective. Like I said before, I think the biggest and most important thing that our teams, our clients are using to improve their maintenance operation is the data and the technician management side of things.
So from a property management standpoint, if somebody, I heard you say data a lot. Yeah. And if somebody is still using the old pen and paper, legal pad method of doing things, and they hear data gathering, there could be a little bit of pushback from a perspective of say, that's a lot of data. How's that going to do me any good? Is that just going to be more spreadsheets I got to look at, more reports I got to look at? How is AppWork helping to keep that aspect of it, data compilation, more efficient and more effective? You get good results, good information, actionable data, not just collecting
not
data.
Just data. Yeah, absolutely. And one of the cool things about AppWork is that we built a product for just about every possible end user, whether that's a maintenance supervisor, property manager, whether that's a regional manager, asset manager, somebody within the ownership group. And when it comes to data, I think every person needs data to do their job. And for property managers and maintenance supervisors, and as an example, they're not analysts, they're not data analysts. More importantly, the whole point of data is so that you can act on the data, right? That's what people want, right? So how do we get people, for property managers and maintenance supervisors, the question was, how can we give them the data in a way that they can act on it? And for that, it's as simple as our system, we use AI, we look through everything that happens every single day, and we write a sentence-based email, bullet-pointed email, say, hey, here's what we need to focus on. Here's what went really well today. Here's what meaning in a positive way, here's what we did really well, but here's what we need to focus on.
So if you're on the management side or you're a maintenance supervisor and you know what your headaches are, you know who your headaches are, you know the types of jobs and the types of things that create more grief for you. What are a couple specific data points that AppWork is going to provide to them? Just give me an example of a few, 3 or 4.
Yeah, I think on a very basic level, let's just go to from a technician perspective, I think a lot of companies are just lacking that. For us, we track, make it really easy to track how many work orders the technician completed, their average completion time, how long they've been with the company. Obviously, right, all of those metrics tie into each other. Their callbacks. Callbacks is probably one of the industry's I don't know, least tracked metric, but it's probably one of the most important metrics to understand the technician's performance. Just because Johnny's completing 1,000 work orders, right? If 20% of them are being called back,
how many
right?
of those are being done twice?
Exactly. So there's that. We built our own KPI called coins, which is where, technicians earn coins based on their performance. They could lose coins based on their performance. And it's an incredible data point because it takes just about all their KPIs into account and summarizes it into basically one performance score that a lot of our clients are using to understand how each individual technician is performing.
So if you're sitting in your desk, your property manager, you can pull that and you download this report and you can see how your team is doing, who's delivering the best performance, and where maybe you have some opportunities to do a little bit of re-education, some encouraging, and some challenging some of your teams. And then you also have an opportunity, you have somebody who's been loyal. Because another thing, technology is a big buzzword right now in the industry, but so is employee retention. We all want to have good quality people on our teams, whatever that team might be. So property manager can look at this, maintenance supervisor can look at this, see who on their team is doing a great job, not getting those callbacks, getting the stuff done the first time, and then also being efficient. That sounds like a really easy way to have a great handle on what your team is doing and what they're all about.
100%. And not just what they're doing, what they're all about, because you just mentioned a really important thing is retention. And I think unfortunately in the industry, our industry has a much higher retention rate, a much lower retention rate when it comes to employees than the national average. But even within maintenance, there's an even lower retention rate. Low retention rate, higher turnover rate.
Right.
I think the industry average for technician turnover is about 38% of technicians are turning over.
Yeah. When I talk to our salespeople, our TSMs at Chadwell Supply, all of them, if they've been around for 3 or 4 years or more, have a story where they've gone into a property and everybody is new and they are actually helping the property team understand what's going on their property.
Yeah, no, 100%. So I think we actually just pulled data from our platform literally just last week, and we're looking at, industry-wide within all of our clients, an average of 26% turnover rate. So that's about a 12% decrease compared to the industry standard. So
12% decrease. So you're coming down from a third to around a quarter.
Yeah,
that's a big deal, and those numbers do play out. You think even if that's one person on your team that decides to stick, that's a huge difference.
Yeah, I mean, think about every time somebody leaves, the knowledge that they take with them, the time, right, that you have to recruit for that position, the cost of recruiting. There's so much that goes in. There's so much loss, both monetarily, but also just knowledge wise,
relationally too. Knowing who you are, knowing as a manager, like what your perspectives are, what your positions are, your opinions are on things, how you run the ship, that kind of thing. And then also out in the community, these maintenance guys, I know we talked in the last time you were here. And in fact, if you have the opportunity to check out Sean's last podcast on the MRO show, check it out at chadwellsupply.com/podcast. We get into this a little bit more, the nuts and bolts of how the maintenance teams really are the community ambassadors.
Yeah.
They're out there. And you made a great point. You said in a lot of cases, in the way things are doing today out there on the properties, the residents are seeing the maintenance people. Sometimes that's all they see when it comes to the property.
Yeah, on a day-to-day, especially today, most people are paying their rent online, right? They're not coming into the office that much, right? They're walking out to go get their mail, go to their car, drive through the property. Who do they see? It's the maintenance guys that are going around on the property throughout the day doing work orders.
And so when you think about the technology, we talked about some bullet points, some real specific applications and some great ways of you can track and get some KPIs from AppWork. But let me ask you this, what's been the response from the people actually using it, the maintenance teams and the supervisors? How have they been responding to AppWork?
Yeah, so it's actually really interesting because from a sales perspective, we talk to a lot of property management companies, and a lot of people say, or we hear often is that, we're just worried our maintenance team's not going to like the change and they're scared, we don't want to ruffle the feathers. Our guys, they're set in their ways. They're not going to change.
Everybody loves change, Sean.
Right. Everybody loves change, right? But that's what we built our product for, though. We're probably the only product right now in the industry that was built for the maintenance guys. It was built for those guys who don't like change, who don't like technology, want something simple. And honestly, they want to do a good job. And that's what I think the industry We do a poor job supporting those technicians who want to do a good job, but we give them. But that's a big focus for us, is trying to make that change as simple as possible.
Let's park there for a little bit, because when maintenance guys get around and they're talking and they get real about how they feel about their job, a lot of them enjoy the work. They like they're problem solvers. They want to go out there and fix things. They get that opportunity. They don't always feel as appreciated as they think they should be, or they feel that they should be, or recognized.
Yeah.
What are some ways that your technology is helping ownership and management recognize those guys out there doing a good job?
Absolutely. And, like I was saying before, one of our biggest focuses was from the technician perspective, right? Whether it's the actual technology for the technician or the data behind the technician's performance. But one of our big focuses is how do we get that technician to perform better, right? And, somebody, I don't remember who it was, but I heard an incredible quote from somebody recently who told me, it was very simple. It's, bowling isn't fun if you don't know the score, right? So whether the data is good or bad, when people have the data, people tend to perform a lot better. So that was a big focus for us, is how do we get people, introducing a lot of fun tools like gamification to get people, again, more engaged, more gamified.
And for people who hear gamification or gamified, and maybe they don't quite understand what that means in a practical standpoint, just give me a quick example of a couple of different ways that gamification works to motivate maintenance teams.
Absolutely. So, I mean, it's there's a few different things that we do. Like, basic level, technicians get rated every time they leave a property, right? Mm-hmm. Every time they leave a unit, close out a work order, resident leaves a rating. Every technician now has a average rating, and technicians off the bat, my rating's 4.7, your rating's 4.3, right? It now becomes competitive off of that. That's number one. That's very, very basic. Taking it up a notch, we built this really cool concept called AppWork badges. So property management companies can create different KPIs. I'm making it up, an HVAC superstar,
sure,
right? And then they can say, whoever completes 50 HVAC work orders becomes an HVAC superstar. And then AppWork will automatically track that badge. And, clients typically have a few dozen badges created in the system. And at all times, we're tracking every technician's progress towards earning each of those badges. And it becomes really engaging and motivating for those technicians to try to earn their badges. I mean, it's as simple as that. We've seen we've heard stories of technicians going through great length and doing pretty wild things to earn their badges.
Yeah.
We've seen companies doing really fun and creative things with those badges, to recognize the technicians who earn those badges. That's another concept of gamification that we have. Something that we launched a little bit more recently is our coins program, which we're very excited to partner with Chadwell on.
It's been a great opportunity for us as well.
Yeah, I mean, again, talk about recognition and giving back to the technicians, giving them the ability to be spotlighted, to be recognized for the hard work. I mean, it's one of an incredible programs that we have, where AppWork, using the data that we have, we can award, like we said before, it's this little score card system where technicians earn coins based on their performance, or lose coins based on their performance. And for that, we really gamified that, because we have a live leaderboard up on our website that takes all of our clients' data together, and you can see the top 100 performing technicians at every given moment. That's
great. So we're building excitement, we're solving problems and making things more efficient for people. But if we're talking, there's somebody who's made it this far in our conversation, Sean, and they're
hopefully that's everybody.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope we haven't anybody dropped off. But if there's somebody out there who's heard about technology and multifamily to the point where it's a little tired, it's a little bit of white noise for them, and they're just not sure yet how to lean in all the way. And maybe they just hear tech and they go, things are fine for us. We're doing okay.
It ain't broke, don't fix it, right?
Right. So what would be one way that what would you say to them, Sean, to help them maybe take the next step into checking out, say, AppWork or another technology out there that you think is worthwhile?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think in general, I think technology is important. I'm still absolutely mind blown that there are companies today using pen and paper for their very basic operations, such as work orders. So I think it's not optional. I think everybody should be looking at and evaluating the different technologies that are out there. I definitely understand, there are some people that are scared of change and things like that, but I think you should look into it, contact a company like AppWork, of course. We're happy to talk you through it, help you through it. We're not just from a sales perspective, but just from a change management perspective, and help you understand what changes you want to make, or even people that aren't looking to change, just want to know what's out there. I tell people all the time, like, that's fine. Just see the product, so you know what's out there, so that, like, when you're ready for a change, right? You know what direction, where to look, how to look, what you're even looking for.
Yeah, you guys are multifamily people too, so you know how to, you know the language, you know what's important to these property teams. You're going to understand their needs. You're going to be able to talk the language that they really want to talk about and get real about things.
Exactly.
So, Sean, if there is somebody out there who is interested in taking that next step and learning more about AppWork, how would they connect with you guys?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they could go to our website at appworkcode.com. They can connect with us on LinkedIn.
So appworkco.com.
AppWorkCO.com.
Check you out on LinkedIn as well.
Yep.
Very good. Sean Landsberg, founder and CEO of AppWork, and a great technology asset to the multifamily industry. Sean, thank you so much for taking time to chat with us on the MRO Show today.
Well, thank you for having me, Adam. It's great being here again.
Well, if you enjoyed this episode of the MRO Show, please take a moment to rate us 5 stars on your favorite podcast service. And if you want to listen to more MRO Show, including our previous conversation with Sean, check out chadwellsupply.com/podcast.